Hello, you guys. Welcome to another live Q&A. I'm trying to post these more early for you guys so you can plan for them, and I'm trying to do them in the evening on a weekday. Let me know moving forward if that is the best time for you guys. I know we all have different schedules, but I find this is the more open time for a lot of you guys versus like a lunch hour or something like that. But really, really glad to be back. I feel like I haven't seen you guys or talked to you guys in a long time. I feel like a lot has happened even since the last live and even since last few videos that I posted. So I thought I would start today by just giving you guys a little update, some stuff, personal, it's good stuff. And then we can go right into the questions. As always, you guys can ask me anything that you want. Coaching related, running, strength, balancing the two, fitness goals, anything you're dealing with right now this summer. We also are really close to kind of official training season for your fall race if you haven't already started, depending on the race length. So I know a lot of people are getting into that now. But let me know if you can see me, hear me, or if you can't. And I'm just going to go right into it. So, biggest thing that I've actually gotten such sweet comments from you guys about has been my shoulder, because in my last video, I told you guys that I have been dealing with a really bad shoulder injury and got the MRI and got the results yesterday. So to just jump off and make it about myself, I will update you guys. I have a small partial tear in my rotator cuff. I think it's the supraspinatus, and I have some fraying in the labrum. Surgery is not recommended by this particular doctor, so we're going the injection route at first, doing a cortisone shot with an ultrasound right on the spot that the injury is actually that it's happened at. And the first cortisone shot that I had done, we were kind of flying blind because we just did some tests in the office. And basically we didn't get the spot. So I will do the next cortisone shot on the shoulder, exactly pinpointed on the area that's torn. And we will hope that it's also healing on its own. I had some follow-up questions, and I'll tell you guys what I asked the doctor, because I know that it's a little intimidating to question someone that seems like the authority on the subject. Obviously, you went to them for their advice, but I asked him two things. One, if I keep doing the workouts that I've been doing, even if there's pain, am I injuring the area more? That's always a good one to ask if you go in for a follow-up MRI or just something that's been hurting. Make sure that on a daily basis, you're not adding to the problem. And if you're not sure, ask. So I had been changing my workouts and what I was doing to get around the shoulder pain, avoiding a lot of overhead pressing and heavy lifting and stuff like that. He actually told me I'm not going to be adding to the problem unless I were to get in like a car accident or something. So he said, do what you're doing. Even if it's hurt, or even if it hurts, you're not hurting it more. So that was comforting. And then the second thing was, if this doesn't work and we do end up in the surgery route, is starting with this going to impede on the situation? Like, is it going to actually make it worse long-term? Should we just cut to that right now? And I like the conservative approach. I think a lot of surgeries can go wrong. And he said, this is just not a full tear by any means. And so he was like, this is our best bet. So yeah, that is where I'm at now. I feel really good about this. This is a lot better than hearing it's torn clean off the bone. I'm not making it worse. So I'm going to go back to my normal workouts. We're going to try this. And yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised. So thank God. Moving right along to the questions, guys. If you're just joining us, you can ask me anything for the next 30 minutes. We are just chatting about training, motivation, anything you guys need right now. And I'm going to get started with George's question. Hey, Coach Holly, how many times do you lift per week when training for 100 Ultra? And do you limit what you lift? How do you taper lifting close to the race? Really good question. The strength routine related to the 100 should always be benefiting the goal of running the 100. It shouldn't ever take over. And it's very easy sometimes to get swept up in the goals related to the strength training if your ego is feeling a little bruised in the running department. So I'm going to repeat that. We tend to do more of what we're good at. So if you find yourself in more of a plateau in the running space, obviously getting ready for 100 can take us a lot longer than it takes to get ready for, say, a half marathon. If you start to look to your strength work, if it's getting better each week and the running's kind of plateaued a little bit, and you start to look for like feeling good about yourself in the gym, you might creep into territory of doing too much in the gym, and you don't want to do that. So just remember that the main goal is the finish line of that 100. So I would lift 3 times a week, sometimes 4 is what my sweet spot was. I was doing more of the like CrossFit style at first, and then I moved into a little bit more F45 hit stuff. So I was like still getting aerobic in there, but I was also lifting. I think it's really beneficial to lift heavy at least once in the week and then lighter the other couple times that you do it. But the heavy day is really about you stabilizing your core. It's a big reason that I like free weights and barbell stuff as opposed to like cable machines in a lot of ways. Stabilizing your, balancing and working on that really comes from being out in the open floor and having to move weight using your own, awareness, body awareness. And so that's really benefited me, especially balance, depending on your course for the 100 miler. You don't want it to be, you don't want to not fine tune that. Basically, when you get tired, I don't know the word for it, but your ability to catch yourself goes way down. So you want to just prepare for the worst. And I think strength is the way to do that. Now, as far as tapering closer to the race, I used to kind of just go off of feel. If I knew that the strength was making me kind of just dull, sore all the time, I would definitely take a day away. But my rule in general, I've talked about this, but not recently, for tapering is keep your weekly schedule as close to normal as possible. Just dial back the volume of that workout. So for example, if I'm running 3 days a week and I'm doing 3 strength a week, I could keep that at least for like 3 weeks out, 2 weeks out. But I would make those workouts way, way, way easier. So it might mean going in the gym for 30 minutes, doing a 10-minute stretch and a 20-minute little fine tune on single leg work. It might be a 3-mile run. It might be, a little bit of tempo work, practicing something at race pace. If you're doing something, this is more for like marathons and stuff, but fine tuning is the point of it. But you can keep your layout in the weekly schedule just to calm your nerves. People get the taper tantrums you probably heard, and I don't want that for any of you guys. So hopefully that was a long answer, but hopefully that helped. Yeah, strength is super important, getting to that 100. Okay. Hi from the other side of the world. How do you feel? And that was such a nice question. I assume you mean about the shoulder. And yes, I'm feeling very relieved. Can someone hire you as a coach not from the US? Thanks. Yes, I work with a lot of people actually internationally, which has been super fun. I've really learned a lot about training styles in other countries too. And it's just been a blast. There was someone that I trained for over a year. He was in the UK and he lived like on a farm, and his outdoor garage farm setup was so cool. So I would do Zoom strength training over that. And that was just like, it was awesome. It was so fun. And he was like training for triathlons and things over there. So yes, I do. Okay, moving along. Hey, Holly, I've been watching you for a lot of years now. As I fatigue, I find myself duck foot running because of tight hips. Is there any dynamic stretches to help or only static before the run? I'm sort of at this point where you can do the best you can with stretching. I had a crazy deep tissue massage today. I feel like if you can even afford every 3 months to go see someone to really, really work on the areas that are tight, you will get a lot more bang for your buck, in my opinion. They don't always have to be expensive either. I found someone great here actually from a recommendation who was a lot cheaper than a lot of like fancy massage spas or whatever. And it was painful, but it really got the job done. So anyone dealing with like tight hips in this case, IT band issues, things like that, which can often stem from tight hips, you want to really be manipulating the tissue that's tight and not overdoing it. But sometimes the stretches just don't cut it, especially if you have a habit, during your day, if 8 hours you're seated or something like that, that's really hard to combat. So keep up the stretching. I would say really intense foam rolling. I have a video coming out soon that I just filmed this week on knee pain, but it's actually like a really deep foam roll stretch video. So you guys will see that too. But yeah, see if you can just get someone to actually like use an elbow, get in there, use a lot of pressure to actually open up the hips. And I actually feel like you'll get better results from that. Okay, moving along, guys. If you're just joining us, please ask questions as you see fit. I recently watched your video on using your large leg muscles while running. I implemented it during my run and my heart rate immediately lowered. Thanks for the tip. Awesome. I love when stuff works. And sometimes it might not work right away. So it'll feel like, is she a quack? What is she talking about? But I wouldn't be saying stuff so passionately, so frequently if it didn't work. And I'm so glad that it did. Once we start to just feel more efficient in our running. And actually, I see a question coming up related to heat. You get forced when you're in more intense conditions to make running more efficient because you can't stomach doing it how you were doing it before. And I think it's a good way of kind of pushing us in new directions and to explore more how we do something, especially if it's something we do on a weekly basis, several days a week, where we know everything we're doing is impacting our body directly and we want to protect it and be careful. So awesome. Okay, Matt says, "Hi, Holly. It's gotten very hot and humid in Pittsburgh, so I added electrolytes to my hydration. I don't know when to take them, before, during, or after my hour plus long runs." Good question. I'm going to say that about all of them, but they are good questions. Electrolytes are going to stabilize your hydration, basically your body's balance and the way that you're managing heat and sweating. So losing that liquid. It helps balance the way that you do that so you're not completely depleted. I would say in the summer, if it's hot and humid like it is here, you want to be keeping a steady electrolyte intake going all the time, even on days you're not working out. So, for example, if you have like a packet of Element, Liquid IV, whatever, one of those a day as a baseline during the summer, I think is great. On top of that, if you're doing it during a run, I really like the base salt. And I've talked about this in other videos, but it's a salt tube, electrolyte salt, and you lick your finger, you shake it, and you lick it off. And that I do every 30 minutes during a run in the summer. And that might even be just an hour long run, but I will do that at least once during that, typically, unless it's like first thing in the morning. That is the best way to avoid cramping. Cramping comes from, like I said, this imbalance, losing those electrolytes. We lose so much more during the summer. And for those of you guys in dry climates where it's still hot, so Phoenix, for example, Vegas, stuff like that, you are sweating just as much as we are. It's evaporating. Some of you might be like, duh, but if you didn't know that or you don't register that, just know you need them just as much as we do. So keep that going in the summer. I would say baseline, one packet of electrolytes, and then the salt is great for mid-run. And last summer when I was doing a lot of 20 milers, 30 milers and stuff, I was doing that every 30 minutes, one lick or two or whatever, just to keep that going. And honestly, I don't think I cramped once during my 100 because of that salt. Hopefully that helped. Awesome. Good question so far, guys. I also wanted to just hit really quick. I kind of said it at the beginning. If you guys are getting ready for fall races and you're trying to figure out what your game plan is for training, and a lot of you guys are going to be training in weather different from the race weather that you're going to have, just know that this is a tough time of year for a lot of reasons, weather-wise, travel, you're out of your routine a lot, stuff like that. You want to be conscientious about how you're speaking to yourself on a daily basis when it comes to your training. You want to be trying to stay as steady as possible and not going up and down with your feelings. I say that because it's very easy to get in your head and convince yourself, even by August, that you're never going to be ready for a November race. And I have had a lot of clients actually locally in Nashville who have gone to running stores around here, and people tell them, in June that there's no way they could train for a marathon and be ready by November. And they're not significantly overweight or anything like that. So wherever you're getting information, whatever you're being told, just know we're all in a good spot. We're going to be fine on the race. But if you feel like it's getting harder to get into it for whatever reason, different factors and things like that, it is normal, but it's not as intense of a situation as you think it is. So just try to stay steady. A good example, last summer I was at the beach and had to get some runs in and stuff. And it was awful. It was hot and humid. I was, with other people and everything like that. And I was getting short runs in, but it was something. So I just told myself, you got out there in the heat, you did something, you sweat, you tried to move, and that's good enough. And then you get back to it. When you get back to your normal diet and everything like that. This is the kind of thing that can really drag you down if you get fixated on the fact that it's so not perfect right now. And this goes in line with that video I just posted that a lot of you guys resonated with earlier this week as well. So what is your PB full marathon time? I have only I've run a lot of marathons, but road wise, I think I've only done like 2 road marathons ever. San Francisco, it's very hilly, but I ran that in 4:15. You guys know, I do not pride myself on being fast or anything like that. But I ran that in 4:15. And fun fact about that race, I know what to do in terms of training and race day and everything. For some reason, I wore a brand new style and pair of Hokas that I had never tried before on that race day. Had excruciating blisters the whole time, literally from probably mile 9. And it was awful. Oh no, I'm so mistaken. I did Big Sur 4 times as well. That was also on pavement. But again, those are both really hilly races, so it's kind of hard to say. I would love to race something flatter and make that next goal. I've kind of thought maybe something speed related would be fun versus just going for more and more distance. Okay, guys. Yeah, keep it coming. If we want to talk injuries, if you guys are dealing with anything specifically, let's talk about it. If you guys are working strength training into your routine for the first time and you haven't done that before and you feel a little lost, always basically don't be so affected by your environment. If you're in a class, if you're in the gym, if you are doing your programming based off of YouTube, anything like that, you should go mostly off of how you feel and not what other things look like. And I say that as an ex-dancer because I have noticed a lot of form is suffering. And if that's happening on a daily basis and you're not picking up on the fact that it's feeling off because you're just kind of comparing how it looks to things, you might lead yourself down the injury path. A lot of people getting injured recently, knees, low backs, IT band stuff. If you are wondering why something's creeping into your life, take a closer look at how something feels when you're doing it on a regular basis. And that can even be body weight strength exercises. You just want to make sure you're doing things correctly and have someone check you if you're unsure. Yeah, it's one of those things that can unfortunately really affect us. And in my deep tissue massage today, I just realized how many things are imbalanced side to side. And that's always good to just bring awareness to that. Okay, what's your feeling on running shoe insoles? Is it necessary for everyone or mostly a sales pitch at a shoe store? Do you use any? I've only used insoles once. I used Superfeet to fix plantar fasciitis for my first marathon. It really helped because it lifted the ones I had, basically lifted my heel up a little bit, which basically like minimized the pull under my foot. So the pain in my arch was less because it wasn't so tense, basically. That's the only time. Generally, I think they're kind of a crock that are just sold at the store. Now, people have all types of feet, high arches, low arches, all in between. I don't think that any additional thing sold to you is going to fix your problem just because it's the product. You have to pair that with other things that would help change. But in my case, for example, it put me in a position to be in less pain. And I think I eventually trained myself to get in a good stretching routine of my calves and bottoms of my feet that I then cured the problem with less pain at the same time, if that makes sense. So I was able to keep running because I was able to squash the pain. Similar to how people recommend doing like 10 days of regular ibuprofen to minimize inflammation to give your body a chance to get back to normal in specific scenarios, but you wouldn't do that every day. But it gives you that opportunity to work through the problem without excruciating pain that stops you or sidelines you. Hopefully that helps. After trying so many shoes, I now really like my Brooks. I also have a lot of bad Hoka memories. People love or hate Hokas, and you guys know I'm a big fan of the ones that I now run in. Brooks are awesome. In my experience, like I've really run in a lot of Brooks. When I was working with Run Experience, I would wear Brooks a lot because we were sent some, especially like 8 to 10 miles. I loved those for that. They're a bit heavier than a lot of my Hokas. So for some reason, after that 8 to 10 mile mark, I just felt maybe this is why Hoka is so great. It just really does kind of keep you springing forward. I felt heavier in the Brooks. That was just my personal experience. But I have also been running in New Balances a lot. I don't have them near me right now, but I think they're the 1080s. And they're amazing. They are so great. I'd actually be really curious. I'm running less mileage these days, but if I were to go take them out for 10, 15 miles, I am curious how they would do because they've been awesome. They're just super comfortable, perfect toe box size for me. I have a wider front of my foot, not super wide, but more that I need space. And they're great. And they come in like narrow version, wide, double wide, all that stuff. So yeah, it's been good too. Okay. Are super shoes with the huge stack heights actually bad for us? Does it hurt or make our running form more sloppy? I think that anything you're doing because a shoe is springing you forward. So for example, if you're getting lazier with how you pick up your feet because that shoe is helping you, that can lead to problems depending on how long you're running for, I would say. So if you're running for a really long time and you're really not checking in over the course of the long run and you're letting it just full decline at the end. For example, I was running with a client this morning. Towards the end, he totally fell apart, but we acknowledged it and we worked on slowing down to get it back to normal. But if you are not paying attention, I think shoes like that can be a problem. If you're paying attention, any shoe you're in should just be complementing or helping you notice things that already exist in your running. Always really important, and I've been telling you guys this recently, if you can set up your phone camera and run at it and away from it and across both ways, just so you can, with bare feet, sorry, you should be able to pinpoint some things just good to know about the way your feet land when you run. It's hard to know this when we're in these huge shoes. So if you have a good sense of how your foot lands when you run, you'll know better, have a better idea in these bigger shoes what's going on. And they may be making you feel like the problem's gone because they're covering it up, but you are still coming down on your foot that same way. So cushion helps minimize the impact, but it doesn't take all of it away. So just keep that in mind. And like, as you try different things, I'm a big fan of working in new types of shoes and switching out throughout the week and not being in one pair of shoes over and over every single day. I think the way that we wear them and, rub down the outsides and wherever you tend to land, they get beat up a lot quicker if you're not rotating shoes. So that's just my experience. I feel like it keeps your form a bit more fresh to rotate. Okay. Love me Hokas. I did the Pittsburgh full in May in 1080s and they were so great. Yeah. I've really been hearing a lot about these shoes, which is why I ordered them just to see. And yeah, I freaking love them. So, okay, cool. I'm just going to keep going down some topics that I wanted to talk about too. I am writing run plans and I'm so excited. I told you guys this, I think, in a recent video, but I am in the process of writing. Tell me if you guys like this idea. A 12-week run plan and a 12-week run plus strength plan. This is going to be designed for someone who could probably do somewhere around 2 miles, or you generally run, but you don't really have any big, large run goals right now, or you're figuring out if you want to even get into distance running. These would be the plans for you, and they would build you up. My ideas would get you up to running 10 miles by the end of the 12 weeks, but the whole plan could be adjusted in the distance runs depending on if you have a race. This is kind of what I'm thinking. I love doing personal stuff, and all the coaching I've done has just been one-on-one, but I want to create something that if you just want to get a plan and get started on it, it's going to be a PDF and it's going to have everything, warm-ups, cool downs, everything you need. But I've been trying to toy with who this is written for. So I wanted to do those, and I want to do a 6-week plan that's for the absolute getting off the couch beginner who I feel so strongly attached to, that type of person. So that would be run only. Maybe I'll do strength as well one day, but just getting you comfortable calling yourself a runner, walk runs, all of that stuff. There'll be tempo workouts, hill workouts. Everything will be modifiable to treadmill if you need it. And then my thought was, with all the plans, you would get a 15-minute coaching call, just me and you, included with that plan. So tell me if you guys like that idea. And if you have ideas for it. I know that so many people write plans for race specific, distance, the 5K plan, the half marathon, whatever. I have found that a lot of people just want to run. And I want you to do a plan like that and feel confident that you could sign up for anything and get yourself there. So I don't like that it's so focused on the type of race that you're doing. I think that if you train well, and I just think my personality and the way I run is like, I kind of am always wanting to be ready, not necessarily in training mode or out of training mode. And that's kind of that's what I want to do with these plans. That's how I want to write them. So that's what I'm thinking. Let me know. And I'm going to keep working through these questions. I was injured during a race a couple years ago. I'm just now getting back to races. Any suggestions on getting out of my head? I'm afraid getting hurt again. Totally get it. It is so hard in life, generally, not even just running stuff, to not get fixated on the way something went down. So you think that history will repeat itself, and it's good to be cautious, but we have no guarantee of that. Something my therapist always reminds me when I'm worried about what's going to happen is it could be option A, it could be option B, all the scenarios you play. It is likely another option Z, that you haven't even thought of. So worrying about something repeating itself or happening again is pointless because we don't know that would actually come true. So it just takes up brain space for no reason. Look at everything. It is the next chapter. We don't need to revisit that. We don't need to seek out what we could have done differently. It's good to learn from the experience once and then move forward. And I am talking to myself just as much as I'm talking to you. So I would say just pull out of the, and look at the big picture. You want to keep running. You want to do another race. You may never get injured again. I'm going to knock on wood for you. And I think that's going to be only the future to tell. We don't know for sure. So you should enjoy the process, enjoy getting back out there. Okay. I am a beginner. I ran 8 miles today. That doesn't sound like being a beginner. Felt great, didn't have any water, and didn't feel thirsty. At what point of mileage or time-wise should you drink water or even eat food while long distance running? This is actually really important for no matter what climate you're in. People think that running, nutrition, and hydration is the same as just being alive. So you wait for cues a lot of the time to eat or drink. That cannot be the case when you run. And I say that because, yes, you might survive that run or something longer or whatever, but you will feel so much better if you never feel a big dip in your energy. So what I mean by that is, yes, I could technically go out and do 2 hours in the heat and humidity and just be destroyed by the end of it, but I technically survived it. Or I could be drinking water throughout, which I'm going to get to the details of, having a couple bites of food throughout, and stabilizing through the whole run. So I actually finish feeling strong. And that does wonders on your confidence. It makes you want to go back out there again. If you leave with the memory that it was a total disaster, you won't want to do it again. So if you're new, for example, let's take the 8 miles. I would absolutely, if you're in the heat, bring a handheld water bottle. Amphipod makes a great one. Look up that brand on Amazon, or get a pack. You can just go straight to the pack. I know a lot of people think packs are just for marathoners, ultra marathoners, whatever. I think in the summer, it's a no-brainer. It's hands-free. It's tight to your body. Nathan makes good ones. Ultimate Direction makes good ones. There's so many brands. I think it's Orange Mud does that as well. You want to be strapped with water, and I just take some sips, honestly, every few minutes, small sips, so it's not sloshing around. Don't let yourself get to the point of being so thirsty. Electrolytes as well, that's a big one, especially if you're in the heat. I already went over that, but that's a good one to work in every 30 minutes. And I would say, as far as food, over the hour mark, you could have something maybe in the middle of the hour, just a quick little bite. But over the hour mark, I always say I basically go 45-minute sections, 40 minutes or so between eating. And I'll have about 100 to 150 calories each time. So whether that's a gel, whether that is a bit of like quesadilla or something like that, or a peanut butter sandwich, like it all depends on what I want to bring that day. Gels are very easy. Blocks are easy. But you want to keep it steady throughout. Once you're hungry, and I'm talking more to like an ultra marathoner, but once you're hungry, it's too late. You're then playing catch up because you're already burning and you're hungry too. So play with it, try out different foods, tiny little bites, tiny little amounts. You might even start with less than 100 calories just so you don't upset your stomach, and see what sits well. Hopefully that helps. Okay. Okay, cool. Someone has an idea. Maybe those who travel. I'm always scrambling for travel workouts as far as the plans I'm going to write. Yes, I think that I want to make something that doesn't require equipment or you needing to be anywhere specific. So that's definitely going to be kept in mind when I write these plans. I don't want them to have to happen at a certain gym or on a treadmill with these settings, etc. So awesome. Even for intermediate runners, it could be helpful by tweaking the distances some. Yes, I totally agree. I think I'm going to find a way to talk to you guys about what distances you should be doing based on your goals, and kind of give you a guide for modifying that versus making a million different plans for different races. Cool. We have a few more minutes, guys, so keep dropping the questions, and I will answer them as much as I can. Hey, Holly, going for a run. Can we take normal water during the long run? When to take the electrolyte water? Answered it earlier in the video, but just to recap, electrolytes should be about every 30 minutes if you're out there in the heat. I think one electrolyte packet on a baseline every day in the summer is great, probably in the winter as well. But we lose a lot and we don't even realize it. So it's important to do that. What is the right plan route for someone like me who trains most days of the week doing CrossFit, kickboxing, etc., aerobically fit, but their body isn't used to running? Intervals? ? I would say getting used to being on your feet. I like the idea of intervals because you can walk and run, but you're always moving forward. You want to practice the feeling of being on your feet and moving yourself forward, especially during fatigue. So something that a lot of beginners go through is they can't differentiate between soreness and injury. And I would say even being aerobically fit and doing strength training and stuff like that, the feelings you get in your legs when you're running and you're tired in the middle of the run are different. You start to feel really heavy. And that's why I go back to form. If you don't register the mechanics of how it should look and feel, it can be tough to fix things mid-run. So you want to be doing things in intervals just to ensure that you're running well. But I also like the idea of intervals because it can keep you out there longer if you're not at the stage to run a full 20 minutes or 30 or an hour or whatever. So start with that. And then you want to slowly decrease that walk time and increase the run time. Wouldn't worry about speed at all until you're in a place of running at least 30 minutes straight, and then start to work some tempo work in there. And that can be short little sprints, strides, stuff that's 20 seconds long, or you can do stuff where You do a warm-up jog for a mile and then 2 to 3 miles at race pace or something that's a bit faster than you would normally want to run, just to make your overall speed higher, and then you cool down at the end. Hopefully that kind of helps. It's very interesting going from like CrossFit fit to running, but I did a video on that a couple weeks ago as far as like managing your muscle and just body weight as you get into that sport. And it is different, but I think your muscle and the fact that you're aerobically fit will make it easier for you to get good at running. Okay. I've been replaying your motivation videos to help me stop my negative mental script. Thank you. You're welcome, Kay. Guys, I made that video because I have been in a negative spiral and it is tough. And to pull yourself out, to speak to yourself nicely is difficult. But I thought if I could tell you to do it, it might help. And I'm really glad that it is. It's such a weird time in the middle of the summer. You just like don't know what your goals are anymore. And you don't really know if you're on a plan. There's something about like the fall that really gets everybody back on track. But the summer is just all over the place. And you might not be in the same house. You might be traveling. You might be working a lot, whatever it is. Just know that it's not life and death. We're going to be okay. Do you use gels even not during a race, but during your normal day-to-day longer runs? Yes. If I am running, let me think, like over 8 miles, I'm definitely taking a gel, depending on, like I said, that every 45 minutes, every 40 minutes is when I'm going to take one. So I definitely bring gels basically for anything over an hour, I would say. I stop using gels if I'm doing a very long ultra race. I use them sometimes. They're kind of like background supplement, when I just need quick calories and I don't feel like doing anything. No, I don't want to do any work at an aid station, basically. But I work in real foods as much as I can because I'm sick of the gels. And eventually they don't even make me feel satiated anymore. So, yeah. Guys, this was awesome. Thank you so much for the questions. Let me know again if you want these to be at different times, these live Q&As. I want to do more of them. Hopefully this was beneficial in some way. And as always, I'm taking your video requests. I'm trying to make stuff that you guys want to see. So have a great weekend coming up Friday tomorrow, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.